and don't like the government telling them what to do, and libertarians who may or may not like to smoke their weed, but certainly don't like the government telling them what to do. Pot for recreational use is now legal, as everybody knows, in a couple of states, Colorado and Washington. Legal medical marijuana is legal in many other states, right? So this thing is working, and it's working in a lot of other areas that most Americans don't know too. Historically, there's another area in our history together, both left anti-authoritarians and libertarian anti-authoritarians have won major victories working together. One, Ralph Nader talked about in his recent book where he's talking about this convergence himself. And he talked about a recent, well, not recently, a couple of decades ago, was a battle against the nuclear power plant, which was at first just opposed by sort of left environmental folks in Clinch River, Tennessee. But then a lot of folks who cared about fiscal responsibility, okay, didn't like the idea that something which we've been told, American people have been told cost $400 million, was going to cost almost $9 billion, and they joined together, and there was an alliance. There was a taxpayers against Clinch River that was victorious. Okay? In my own world, my own activism against one aspect of the corporatocracy, the psychiatric pharmaceutical industrial complex, that's my major areas of activism. There's been a coalition for many years of people who are libertarian, anti-authoritarians, most famously psychiatrists named Thomas Szasz, along with left anti-authoritarians, like psychoanalyst Eric Fromm, lots of other folks battling the kind of pathologizing of normal human behaviors. And I've written a lot about the pathologizing of anti-authoritarianism, the pathologizing of non-compliance, stubbornness, especially in young people. And I've gotten a lot of media attention from the libertarian world, who's very much interested in that, and the left anti-authoritarian world, very much interested in this stuff. So this stuff, I think it's just real important for folks to realize that these coalitions have been successful. They have worked already. Right? So I think those are real important things to keep in mind. I think the areas that we can get better at, I think there's, what I want to finish up with some things that we can really get better at moving these anti-authoritarian coalitions and alliances along, is to recognize that while all anti-authoritarians passionately oppose illegitimate authority, they passionately challenge and resist illegitimate authority, that some of them, by nature of their personality, their character, their history, they're going to be much more focused on the tyranny towards self, okay, towards the individual, all right? And some are going to be caring more about the tyranny towards community, sort of communitarian anti-authoritarians they're commonly called. And the reality is, anti-authoritarians need to get better at being more whole. They need to be more whole for themselves, but also to form these alliances. And nobody said this really better than somebody 2,000 years ago, who was in a battle against the tyranny of that era, which was the Roman Empire. And this is the person I'm talking about is Hillel, okay, the great Jewish scholar, who said a couple of thousand years ago, this famous saying that he said, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am for myself only, what am I? If not now, when? And again, if you listen to those words, you can see who he's talking to there. This hasn't changed. There are some people who are still focused on the dictatorship's control of self and individual versus the tyranny's control of the community, right? And we have to care about both, okay? And that, to the extent that we care about both, we're going to have better dialogues between anti-authoritarians, so-called on the left Occupy folks, and we're going to have and folks who are libertarian anti-authoritarians. And the last area that just the last thing I want to touch on, keeping my sort of psychologist hat on, is that we have to kind of be blunt and candid about how sometimes anti-authoritarians who are insecure, who are on the defensive, who are filled with too much rage, can move into self-destructive behavior. Instead of just challenging illegitimate authority, okay, and resisting that, they can become compulsively contrary. I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you're with somebody and you're agreeing on like 99 things in a row, and then they get to one thing that you disagree on, and that's what you focus in on to the point where it can get acrimonious, to the point that it destroys a whole relationship. I see a lot of head shakes, like this has not just happened to me, it's happened to a lot of you too out there. And I think that's something that the great antidote to that is for folks to continue to take these issues very seriously, but to learn the difference between taking these issues so seriously and taking themselves too seriously. And to the extent that they can do that, they can be, if they feel more secure in who they are, they can engage in dialogue. And dialogue is crucial because, see, you know, the history of tyranny throughout not just American history, but in world history, is always that tyrants got one major play in their playbook, which is divide and conquer. They're going to always use that over and over again. And we've got to counter that, and the major way that we can counter that is to not divide ourselves. Okay? And to the extent that we don't divide ourselves, what's going to happen is that we're going to get something a lot closer to liberty, to freedom, and to justice. Okay, thank you. Thanks for your time.